Hello, 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 and welcome to another empowering episode of going from chaos to calm in your with your finances, unblocking your path to wealth. Today we have an exciting guest with us, and we are going to go on this journey together. So I am your host, Saran Baker, and financial coach and life strategist, and I'm here to help you and take you along this journey. We're here to cultivate an abundance mindset that will revolutionize your relationship with yourself and your money. But it's not just me talking. We want to hear from you too. So be sure to say hello in the chat. We're going to go through today's session, and I hope that you leave here empowered with tools that you need to go from chaos to calm with your finances. So let's get ready for an exciting, engaging, and fulfilling show. Welcome back. Welcome back. Again, I'm your host, Saran Baker. I am super excited to bring this special guest with us today because she is amazing. I totally look up to her. I don't know if she knows that, but I am amazed at all the things that she does and all the things that she is. But you know me, we cannot start the day without what? An affirmation. So in the vein and the theme of today's show, which is all about going from chaos to calming your finances from a life perspective, right? From life lessons. I want to make sure that you understand and you know that we're here to support you. So today's affirmation is, let me find it because I want to paste it in the chat for you so you'll have it. But today's affirmation is, I trust in my ability to adapt and thrive, finding peace and strength within myself. I am committed to my journey of self improvement and embracing the calm that flows in every storm. I'm going to say it for you again. I trust in my ability to adapt and thrive, finding peace and strength within myself, and I am committed to my journey of self improvement and embracing the calm that flows with every storm. I will put that affirmation for you in the chat. Say that to yourself throughout. If you can say that to yourself this week to give yourself a reminder of who you are and whose you are, and that the strength you need to get through any storm is already within you. I want to make sure that we continue to uplift you so that you can grow and thrive. And so I want to introduce to you my friend, my sister, my sorority sister, my Black Door Society sister, an amazing mom, an amazing mentor, an amazing coach, just an amazing woman all around. I want to introduce you to my friend, Dr. Marcia Bernett Whitaker, and she's a real medical doctor, so that's not a trick, right? But she is an award winning international keynote speaker, physician, master destiny life coach, a radio personality. She's one of the most empowering and engaging voices in motivational speaking today. And that's a fact. She's on a mission to inspire audiences and women, especially worldwide, with her transformational principles to help you boss up in life and leadership so that you can lead, learn, and love with intentionality. Intentionality is the key there. But she also serves as the CEO of her own company, in Full Bloom Health and Life Coaching. And she's a global company that helps professional women break free from their personal prison of life so that they can discover who they are, decide what they want, and deliver in on their own destiny. She's been named Woman of the Year, not one time, but two times. She serves as the founder of the Girl Boss Life Academy, specializing in equipping women with the blueprint needed to redefine, refocus, and redirect their mindset so that they can unlock their greatness within. Oh, that's not it. She's also been featured in Forbes. She is a recognized media personality on ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, CEO Weekly, and USA Today, among others, just to name a few. But she is also the phenomenal host of Up Sis Up a women's empowerment radio show hosted on the Mega Source Entertainment Network. And so I'm excited to introduce you to and bring to you my friend, my sorority sister, my Black Girl Society sister, an amazing businesswoman, Dr. Marcia. We just call her Dr. Marcia for short.
Hey, Saran, it's so good to be here on your platform with your people. I'm excited to get into this conversation. Thank you again.
Yeah, listen, I couldn't wait to have you, right? Because you inspire so many just by just being you. When you walk in a room, it's like, how she do all that?
Sometimes I don't even know, but we'll talk about it.
Does she go from here to here? I look up one day and you're in Maryland, then you're in Atlanta, then you're in Boston. I was like, she must have a private jet. I want to join.
Oh yes, private jet. Yes, maybe that'll be next year.
Next year, okay, I'm with it. I'm with it all the way. But I'm excited to have you because it's important. I feel like it's important for us in the financial space that even though when I work with people, I'm here to work on your money, right? I'm working on concrete things. We're working on budgets. We're working on putting retirement plans in place. We're working on doing, real actionable things. But what I've noticed is there's so much emotion on the other side of it. And there's so much backstories to things. And especially when I talk to my rich aunties or my girlies who have debt, and then they have this story as to why they did it. And then I always tell them, I say, hey, I'm going to put the plan in place. We're going to do this physical work, right? But I need you to work on the emotional part that got you to this state of chaos with your finances, right? Mm-hmm. And I know you use acronyms too. And my definition of chaos is can't handle any obstacle sent, right? Mm-hmm. And so, especially with your finances, like that's true chaos to me. If you have if you have anything go wrong in your life, and life be lifing, right? Mm-hmm. The car can get a flat. The kids need something extra for this or that. You need to go travel for work, even though work pays for it. You still got to have your own money, mm-hmm. right? You have this great opportunity. That's the big thing. You can have a great opportunity that may only cost you $1,000 to be a part of it, and you don't have it. Mm-hmm. And how much did that really cost you? It wasn't the cost of the $1,000. It's the thousands you didn't make in the opportunity.
Exactly.
And so those are the things that, when I come here, I want to talk, but I wanted you to come from a life coaching perspective, right? To, talk to my ladies, I call them rich aunties, talk to my rich aunties because, we're always looking for practical steps, right? And I'll get personal. Today I was this weekend I was totally overthinking something, like all the way in my head. I didn't get 1 week of sleep last night because I'm a thinker, right? So it's like, what are the steps? And so I woke up, I was like, no, you know what? I got to stop overthinking. Let me get the steps to stop overthinking because I'm not going to do this again. But what are some practical steps that some of my rich aunties can use to kind of help them to work on maybe some of the psychological, emotional things that may also be driving their financial problems? Mm-hmm. Or we won't say problems, financial challenges. Or financial mishaps, right? Just some real techniques, right? Because I think that is helpful. Because when I went to do my little internet search and they weren't real techniques, I was like, when I talk to Dr. Marcia, I'm get mine. But like, what are some of those things?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, thank you for the space. And I want to kind of level the playing field. Okay. And I believe that no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you are in your financial career, you're going to have those moments where you feel like you are failing. Okay. You're going to feel like it isn't working. You're frustrated and you want to be someplace else, but you can't get there. Okay. And the first step is to acknowledge that there is something going on that needs some work, right? And when you're looking at, how we have those credit cards, but we don't look at them. We go and we sign up for another credit card. Okay. But when you have, from a financial perspective, when you're like, you know what, I've got these 2 or 3 credit cards that are maxed out, you know what, at some point, when I've acknowledged that there's a problem, okay, and then you say, you know what, I need some help. All right, Saran, that's when you come in. All right, when you say, okay, you know what, I need some help, and it seems kind of in counterintuitive. I need to spend some money in order to fix my money situation. But that's how life goes, right? If you could DIY it, guess what? You would have already. And at the stakes are high where we're playing. And with that being said, it's better. You talked about what you had needing that $1,000 for something and you didn't have it. What have you lost? How many years are we going to continue doing the same thing and getting the same result? How much have you lost? And will you continue to lose if you don't decide, let me get some help and take this another step in a positive direction? Okay. So after you have done that, the other piece you mentioned about the emotion. And so I'm recently-ish divorced, right? And every decision was emotional. That's just how we're made. There's a reason why you're in debt. There's a reason why you have a new car, but you haven't paid off the other car that got totaled. Okay. There's a reason why we find ourselves, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And once you understand the mental part of it, the process, and you have somebody who can break it down to say, you know what, this is why you're doing this. Even if you're an emotional eater, I'm an emotional eater. If I get stressed, the first thing I want to do is go eat. But the thing is that I realized when I was in residency, so because I am a physician, there were nights where the way that I kept moving was I ate. And so that boost of sugar helped me save lives. It helped me stay awake. And so there are times when I use that same mechanism in what I'm doing now. And what's different is that I have to change my mindset to say, I have to acknowledge, you know what? Hey, this is what's happening. I'm not hungry, but I'm eating out of emotion. Okay. Coming back to finances. Okay, you know what? I'm doing what do you call it? Shopping therapy? Is that what you call it? I'm doing shopping therapy.
Retail therapy.
Thank you. Retail therapy because I don't feel good, but I haven't acknowledged I don't feel good. But when you say, you know what, something just happened negatively. And instead of me swiping my credit card, let me sit with it. Let me learn. Let me do some of those exercises that Dr. Marcia is about to tell me how to do so that I can bring it back in, get grounded, look at the goals, whether it's on the vision board or on a notepad, and say, you know what, let me do something different.
Yeah, I love that because I think a lot of times people think the answer is more money. I mean, I don't know if you get that. I get it a lot, and people will always say, "Well, I just need more money, sir." And I'm like, "Well, let's look at what you're doing with what you have, right?" Because there are people, and there are plenty of stories where people have become millionaires making $50,000 a year because they manage what they have, right? And I think the common misconception is, let me just get more money instead of let me get better about the money that I have. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I think some of that is maybe a misconception too about like what self-care is. And sometimes I wonder if, we mix up um, self-care with overindulgence.
So I'll speak to that. There's something called buffering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And buffering is, it can be multiple things, but it's those things that you do that cover up the real problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some people drink to buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some people overdate okay, to cover. Some people do retail therapy. Okay. Some people go on that next cruise. They go travel. They'll travel the world and
Mm-hmm.
come back in more debt. So I think I agree with you. Um, just going on vacation doesn't mean you're overindulging. It depends on your own situation,
Right.
and we have to uncover. We have to lift up the cover to say, okay, why is it that you're doing what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think I find that clients are hiding. It's like, well, I'll just keep doing this and nobody will ever know that I have all these things going on, right? And I think some of it is a lack of the ability to identify their core values,
Mm-hmm.
identify who they are, who they want to be. And, how can our listeners find a way to get back to maybe redefining what their core values are and defining who they are? Because, as you said, you are recently divorced. And, one of the things that it's weird because I grew up. When you grow up, you think when I grow up, I'm gonna be what? I'm gonna have a house. I'm gonna have the car. I'm gonna have the 2.5 kids. I'm gonna have a great career. I'm gonna have the white picket fence. Everything's gonna be together. And then nowhere in that conversation did anyone tell us that you're gonna probably redefine yourself about 50, 11 times,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna find yourself at a plateau and look around and say, "Oh, I wonder who I am now. Who am I going to be next? What
Yeah.
what what's the next step? Where's the next place I'm going to go?" And so for my rich aunties who are in a space of maybe they've reached a peak and they're looking to make changes, or maybe they're redefining themselves, kind of like a woman like yourself. You're coming out of a long-term marriage and you're in the redefinition process. I think you're doing an amazing job. So I think you're the perfect person to say, these are some steps to like redefine yourself in life, um, and not feel like it's such a big financial problem, right? Because it's not always about finances. We don't always need money to redefine ourselves.
True, 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 true. So you are right up my alley talking about I guess the transformation. And part of my Girl Boss Life Academy is my story. And I found myself trapped, what I call in my personal prison.
Mm,
And I was living in a place where I felt boxed in. But what I did beyond that is I didn't like conflict. And
mm,
so I even narrowed the box, and I was living in this small container, and I was living underneath of my potential. And so what I do as a master destiny life coach is that I talk to pretty much there's two, I guess, buckets of women.
mhm.
And there are those who don't know who they are. Okay. I was 50 before someone asked me, who am I?
Hmm.
Right. And I'm like, I, I've never been asked that question before. And I was always going, what we do, I'm going to say the rich aunties, we define ourselves by going and getting degrees.
Yes, absolutely.
And validating ourselves using external systems, right? And so I was in a marriage where I was I was living using operating from his brain, meaning I'm trying to um, guess what he was going to say. I'm trying to stay in the box, and it wasn't going well. I was failing at doing that because I hadn't used my own brain to make decisions. So, but in that process, so there are those who don't know who they are, okay, and then once you discover who you are now, after you ask yourself the question, and you go through that process of purging and writing and rewriting, then the next step is deciding now what you want. Okay, a lot of times we go off of what other people want, and we're guessing. Everybody wants $1 million. Everybody wants to go on. Everybody wants to get the bag, but what does that mean exactly? Maybe
What's in the bag?
what's in the bag? Right, right, right. And maybe your dream doesn't cost $1 million. Maybe it only takes $50,000, right? Or what if your dream does cost more? It costs $10 million. So you getting the $1 million is not going to be enough. So once you decide what you want, and then it's time to execute and go and deliver on your destiny. No one's going to come and drop it in your lap. No one's going to come and rescue you. This is where the work comes. The same way budgeting is work, the same way delivering on your destiny does take some work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, ask yourself who you are, then ask yourself what do you want, and then execute. That's an amazing formula because I find that as a woman and as someone, like you, running the business and helping women, I had to go through that process myself. I had to say, who are you, Saran? What do you want? Who are you and what do you want? And how are you going to execute this? And do you need people to help you execute it? And do you need a community around you? Or do you need to build your own community? And I think that all of the ladies that are watching, the rich aunties that are here, can relate to finding that space. But I think one of the challenges, and I'll be super personal, I know in the who am I journey, it took me a while because I had defined myself by, like you said, my degrees, going back to school, how many people I was able to help or give, or levels or serve, or achievements. And all of those things meant nothing in the grand scheme of things when I sat down with myself and I tapped into my soul and sat and meditated and listened to my higher self. And they're like, we don't care nothing about that. It's like God wants to know, my higher self wanted to know, what are you doing to evolve yourself as a human being? Are you overcoming your challenges that you have, that you've been technically pushing away, but are you taking the time to look at them? And nobody's saying go tackle all your challenges today all at once, but are you taking the time to take the steps, right? And I think that you make an amazing point in that, because at the end of the day, many of our women, we're just going from thing to thing, thinking, well, when I get to the next degree, then I'll be okay. And I know you hear it probably more than I do. Or when I get this next certification, or when I get this next job, or when I move to somewhere else. And I always challenge people with the question is, with this statement is like, you're taking you with you. You're going wherever it is. You're still going. So what do we want to do, ladies? How do you feel about positive thinking versus like affirmations for ladies? And I know it's a tough discussion, because sometimes people think, well, maybe you're selling yourself a dream, right? And I do affirmations all the time because I feel, and I'm specific about my affirmations. I want to make sure that I say them in the present tense, as if they already exist. I want to I say them multiple times. I try to use the same one consistently so that it gets ingrained in my spirit as a reprogram to help me deprogram all the things I didn't know I programmed myself with for almost 50 years. Right. So tell me what are some of your favorite tools? Like, one of mine is affirmation. Tell me some of your favorite tools that maybe you use to help with a mindset shift, or with finding your way out of maybe a place that, I won't say a dark place, maybe a gray place.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you a little medical, and there's something called the brain vacuum. And I want you to imagine, say you have a child and they're driving and they're supposed to be home at a certain time and they're not here, right? All of a sudden, the brain negative vacuum is going to come, and it's going to suck in, okay, something happened, they were in a car accident, they're someplace they're not supposed to be, it's just, that's the negative space. It's just by default. And so I 100% believe in those affirmations. I call them beliefs. And the other, I'm going to say the medical thing that I'm going to go to is that I want you to imagine your brain as a forest. And there is a path that is cut out in the forest. Okay. That is that pathway of thinking or thought that your brain has been using. Okay. So let's say it is, I'm not good enough. Okay. If that pathway is cut out for you. And so no matter what happens, that thought that I'm not good enough is going to come. Part of the affirmations, what it does is that it cuts out a new pathway in the forest, but it takes some time because you have to cut down the brush. And as you continue to say that new affirmation that I'm able to do all things through Christ, right? The more that you say it, it's now cutting out a new pathway. And the more you say it, the more that now that pathway gets cut out and the other pathway starts to grow over. And so over time of the repetition and the belief and you have to start with an affirmation that means something to you. Okay. Your favorite one is not going to be my favorite one, but you need to get that, you need to get to the nitty gritty of that negative thought. And then you find the affirmation or the belief that's going to counteract that. And now by the time you're done, now you have cut out that new path. And now that belief is now a part of you.
Wow, that was a great analogy because, and I love that everybody I have two favorite affirmations. I say all the time. One is every day and every way I'm getting better and better. And I got that from a book, Napoleon. Was it Napoleon Hill? It was a book that I read. I want to say recently, but that's not actually true. My dad taught me that affirmation when I was a teenager.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It was one of the things that came out of my dad was in sales for many years, and so he would always come with all these sales tools he would give me. So I was reading it's called the Scrolls. He would have me read the Scrolls, every one of them. He'd have me read one every day for 30 days, and I would have to read it out loud every day. And in it, that was in there. So, and then my other one is money comes to me easily, frequently, and abundantly. And I say that I learned that recently from one of my mentors. And as I practice saying them and saying them often, what happens is and I'm a financial person, and guess what? I'm human. Things come up financially. And I'm like, WTF is this? And I wait. Money comes to me easily, frequently, abundantly. This is cool. Don't worry about it. This is not a thing. It's just, work on it. It's something's coming to solve this, right? And I think that forest analogy is a big deal because we don't realize the paths that we've created in our minds because now they're automatic.
Correct. They're on autopilot. And unless we change it, then we will continue going down the road. One of my favorite affirmations is that I create my experiences in the world.
I like that.
And so at any moment when something is happening that I don't like, that if I say I create my own experiences in the world, I'm like, you know what? All of a sudden my whole, I'm not sure if you felt that, but just even when I did this now, I felt my eyes kind of go up. And now I am the everything is open to me. I can change what happens in my life by making different decisions about what I do, what I say, where I go, who I'm around.
And when you said it, it made me feel good. I wrote it in the chat because I'm gonna add that. That might be my third one. I was looking for a third one. I create my own experiences in the world. And I love that because I think that what it does is it gives you back control.
Yes. Exactly.
Because I know that even as I go through the world of professionalism, entrepreneurship, dualpreneurship, doing all the things that we do. And sometimes things can seem chaotic, or they can seem out of control, or it can seem like, who is pulling the strings? But if you say, I create my own experiences in the world, then it's like, oh, I get to change how I experience this.
Yes.
I can experience this negatively, or I can step outside of myself and say, what am I here to learn?
Exactly.
And I think that was one of that's awesome, because I think one of the things that even I'm learning as I grow, because we're all growing to some other level. I may be at a different level than someone else. You're at a different level, but we're all growing if we choose to grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I'm learning to do is stop asking the question why, and asking the question, what am I here to learn? So instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Or why is this not working? Or why? Because it's almost like, why is a curse word, right? It's almost like it's a negative impact when we start a sentence with it. And I feel like it's more disempowering than empowering when we say, instead of saying, oh, you know what can I learn from this? Or what can I enjoy about being here? Or what can I do differently next time?
So I'm gonna add a little caveat. I do believe that whatever happens, that you can pivot and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
learn something from it. But I also think it's important to ask yourself why.
Mm-hmm.
And the question, the example I'm going to use in my divorce proceedings,
Mm-hmm.
my primary reason or primary goal was to make sure my kids were okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many things that I gave up to make sure my kids were okay, to the point where I realized I didn't have to give up all of that. I could have strategized differently to get for them to be okay and for me to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when I researched after I got out the fetal position, okay, I was right, right, real talk, right? Then I'm like, you know what? Okay, that happened because I didn't I didn't control my environment. I
Right.
did it because I was over focused on my children and didn't even think 2 seconds about me. Or or maybe I could have changed the person who was representing me, right? There was all these other things about the why,
Mm-hmm.
that even though I couldn't change what happened, I now use that as data points.
Right.
So for the next time, that I learned from it too, but now
Yeah.
the next time that it was time for us to do some negotiation, I was like, hold on, give me some look. Give me some time to think about this. Nah,
Do I
I'm
benefit too?
right. Let me ask
What's
some
happening
people.
for a sister?
Exactly. And so when I now came back to the table, I was like, nope, I'm doing this and this and this. I'm not doing that. Nope. No, look, the child gonna be okay, because yeah, we're gonna work this thing out, because the kid's gonna be okay, but also
Mm-hmm.
mama's gonna be okay. And so I was able to pivot, and so I came out a badass, if I can say that on
Oh yeah,
YouTube, right?
we
I came out as a girl boss.
right.
I went in intimidated,
Mm-hmm.
and I came out being in control of my destiny.
Yeah. And I think that is the strong point, right? That's the important part in the questioning, right? And the only reason I said eliminate why is depends on how you're using the why. Because sometimes we use the why in a victim state, right?
Like,
To put us back.
why me?
I don't mean, and so like the way you're saying is about like, okay, so why am I putting myself why am I not including myself in this? And I think if we were to take a step back to all our rich aunties who are moms, as mama bears, we always want to we put the kids first. We've been putting the kids first for since they were born, since since you started feeling the gestation in the womb, and then in your arms, it's like the only thing you want to do is protect the baby, and that goes, and now you've been doing it for 20 years or 18 or however long your kids, however old your kids. I know you have older kids. How old your kids are, so of course that's your first instinct, but then we have to take a step back and say, well, if mama's not okay, the kids ain't gonna be okay either.
Yes, and that's also part of why. So most of the women I work with, professional women, we are in that auntie zone, right? And we have been making sure that everybody was taken care of, and then we look back and we're like, well, what about me? They're like, what about you? Right. And so that was something, if I could speak to my younger self, I would say, hey, self, get your ish together, right? Because you're going to be left high and dry. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to be fat, you're going to be 40, and your hair going to be falling out. And nobody's
gonna be gone. He gonna be gone. The kids gonna be gone, and you'll be by yourself.
And kids gonna be gone. Nobody's gonna be there, right? And that's what happens when we use that same paradigm of taking care of everybody else.
Right.
And that's back to deciding who you are and what is it you want.
Yeah.
And there's another one of my paradigm, my affirmations beliefs is, it's not either or, but it's both and more.
I was gonna say, in my head I said both and, but both and more is amazing.
Both and more, right? So there's a way that you can have both. And one of the things, the more part, so one of my favorite analogies is crayons. Okay. So if you go into a crayon box and you get the red crayon, you get the blue crayon, you color, right? But I like to play in the 64 count box.
You got
more. I got, not only do I have royal blue, I got royal blue. I got cyan blue. I got light blue. I got sky blue. There are more decisions or more options than just A and B. Okay. If you ever have A and B, that puts you boxed in. Okay, but let's get curious. I wonder what other options are there. Kind of lean back in the seat. Say, how else can we do this? Okay, you know what? I think I come up with this answer and this option, this option, this option. Now you have options, you have choices, and now that opens you up to, now instead of being stressed because there's only two options, now you're like, you know what? I got options. Not only I can wear the red pair of shoes, the blue pair of shoes, I got the purple shoes, I got the tennis shoes, I got the sandals, I got the Crocs, I got the Uggs, I got the, whatever, right? Now we have all these other options, and now that is what changes how we can now move through life.
Yeah. I love that, because it creates a sense of resourcefulness. Because if we're operating in a place where, like you said, we think only A and B, then we think that's all that there is. And a lot of times when I speak with women about their finances, they think there's only one way to do it. There's only two ways to do it. Well, they said on the TV, this is what you need to do. I saw a TikTok. Okay. All right. But did they look at your finances? They can't give you a real answer. They didn't look at your stuff, right? But when we get resourceful, and it's one of those things, I laugh because people will say, like, when I go on shows like, Saran, how do you build generational wealth? I'm like, well, there's a million ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to do it. The question is, which one will you do? Right? And I think that when we come together to a place of resourcefulness, and we're able to say, oh, there's not one or two ways, there's a million ways, which could be a little overwhelming, right? But then it's like, okay, well, let's narrow it down to the ones that you feel like you're going to do, or you're interested in, or you're willing to put some time and effort into. It's kind of like when you go to college, what do you want to major in? I'm just going to be undecided. But they don't give you long to be undecided.
Right.
costs you money to be undecided.
It does.
If you
It does.
finally declare major, you might have to start back a year to get caught up. So I love that. I love those options. So the resourcefulness is one of the things that I feel like sometimes we don't tap into as much as women, and we may find ourselves in a state of vulnerability,
Yes.
unnecessarily,
Yes.
because and the one of the number one reasons I think it is we feel ashamed. We don't feel like as women, no one else is going to understand our plight. Nobody else can possibly be going through it when there are literally millions of women going through the same thing.
The same thing. The same thing.
Literally, like for real.
Yep. And the thing I want to add here is I had a coach, and even though she was available, she would say, ask yourself the question first before you ask me. Come up with all of the answers that you have. Exhaust what you can come up with, and then come to me. And I have been living that way ever since. And it's like, before I go ask a question, I have somebody who I can ask, but I'm going to, I usually carry a notebook. I'm going to write out and ask myself the questions first. And 9 times out of 10, I can come up with an answer that I can now implement to get me to where I'm trying to go.
I love that, because that goes with the thought process that everything you need is within you. And you were born like there's a spiritual teaching, and I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was Rumi or whomever, a bunch of folks, but he talked about everything you need you were born with. From the time God put you on earth, he gave you access to everything that you need. Either it's within you or you already have it within your sphere of influence, or you can touch it. Now you might have to do a little work to get to, if it's a resource, you have to tap to someone else, but it's all available to you if you go within. And I was going to ask you a question about meditation, how you felt about meditating as a part of stress relief to bring about calm, but what do you think?
So I'm not sure if I use the word meditation. I have tried that. And it's good, but it's not something that I do on a regular basis. The thing that I do is I do a shift from being in a sympathetic nervous system state to being a parasympathetic state.
Okay, you're gonna explain that.
Yes. So when we are stressed, we are in the sympathetic nervous system state, and that's, everyone's heard of fight or flight or freeze. And when we're stressed, that's when our cortisol levels are high, our blood pressure is up, and we're ready to beat somebody up, hide, or run. Okay. And when you're in that state, your thinking is low. If emotions are high, stress is high, thinking is low. Okay. And so what we want to do is we want to balance that out so that the thinking is high. And so there's a breath work technique that I do with clients, that actually did it today with someone, to help transition them from, she went from an 8 out of 10 on the stress level to a 5 in 2 minutes. Okay. You can't be in both. It's kind of like the light switch, either lights on or lights off. And so we have to transition to that parasympathetic state, which helps stress control.
I love that. But we're going to wrap up, but I always like to ask my guests this question. And you kind of shared a little bit about it, but the question is really, can you share a time in your personal journey where maybe there was a financial challenge, a setback, where you feel like you learned the most, or you went from chaos to calm with your finances?
Oh, wow. Chaos to calm. So I'm going to talk through it. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but let's talk about the divorce. And I That was a challenging time because, it's a financial, whatever is going on, whatever happened, it comes down to money and resources.
Okay.
Okay. No matter what. And I'm spending all of this money to try to keep what I've worked hard for.
Mm-hmm.
But while I'm trying to keep it, I'm spending it to pay for the lawyers. And there was a moment where I had to give up, you know, a lot of what I had in the divorce proceeding. And in that moment, I could have continued to fight, but I said, you know what? In order for me to move on, I need to let this go. It
Mm-hmm.
cost me a pretty penny, but I
Okay.
said, you know what? I can't, I'd rather just let it go and start from wherever I'm starting, and and build back what um, build from there. And so in that moment, I had to go back to what was important to me. It was
Right.
peace,
Right.
freedom. Peace and freedom were important to me. And if that meant I there was some zeros missing,
Mhm.
then that is what it had to be.
Right. Right. I love that. What do you feel like are like the top three things that you believe about money?
I believe it's a mindset thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe that how you grew up and your money story follows you, and it takes someone who is skilled in knowing that to kind of help you walk in that way. I do believe that money is a resource and not. I mean, it's really, if you really think about it, the paper that money is printed on is just paper,
Yeah, it's not real. It's a
right?
thing.
It's a thing, right? And whether or not, what yeah, it's a thing. It's just even the crypto, Bitcoin, all that kind of stuff. It's like imaginary stuff that doesn't even matter. But we put a lot of emphasis on it. And I also believe that you are capable of making whatever it is that you set out to make in your life.
Yeah, I love it. And I think I talk about that. I talk about money as energy a
Hmm.
little bit because the money itself doesn't really exist. What existed was your time and effort that you put in to earn it, and to then exchange it for the things that you wanted to receive.
Hmm.
Um, and it takes some time to see it as currency. And currency, when you start looking at the words, is an energy force as well. And so we're getting back the amount of energy that we're putting out. And so that's part of the reason where, a lot of times people think hard work means you should make more money. But when
Hmm.
you start looking at the levels of what they call the levels of value, a lot of times the person who's working the hardest isn't necessarily making the most money, but the person
True.
who's providing the most value is making the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
So, well, I have really enjoyed you, but I don't want to let you go without the most important thing. Tell our audience how they can connect with you. I also know you got some really exciting things coming up. So I want you to talk about some of the exciting things you got coming up. I'm a part of one of them.
Yes. Yes. So
But tell us how the audience let us know how the audience can connect with you, how they can maybe attend one of your workshops or find out more about the Girl Boss Academy, catch the podcast, things like that.
yeah, absolutely. So you can reach me on multiple options. You can check me out on my website at www dot Dr. Dr. Marcia Marcea.com. You can follow me on social media. On Facebook, I'm in full bloom HLC. Also on TikTok and Instagram and all of the things. You can also you can text me at 410-705-7851. And so some of the things that are coming down the pipe, Saran is part of the Destiny Expose, the Leading Ladies Edition It's an anthology of powerhouse women who have come in together to tell their story, their testimony, their trials, but also sharing their transformation and giving real tips and just the story of how they persevered through tragedy, through turmoil, through tribulation, through all of the T's. And so we're going to be dropping that in September. I am so excited. The foreword is going to be written by none other than Judge Wanda Hurd, who was the first female judge in the 8th Judicial District in Maryland. And she is a great resource, a powerhouse herself. So I'm excited about that. I also have my speaking engagement. It's called Refilled and on Fire, that is coming in April of 2025. If you are a speaker, go ahead and reach out to me. Also on my website, take the stage and to tell your story. And we had a whole lot of fun this last time. Had representatives from television and radio and all kinds of folks in the room. So it was a great time.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you. Hopefully you'll come back. I'm going to see you soon. See you everywhere.
That's right.
But thank you so much for coming. I'm going to close out the show. Hang back for a second.
Okay.
All right, Rich Aunties. Thank you so much for joining us again for this latest edition of Going from Chaos to Calm with Your Finances, Unblocking Your Path to Wealth, where we focus on the spiritual, mental, and the physical of money so that you can get to the number that you know that you desire, and you know that God has called you to have in your finances, and find the peace and go from can't handle any obstacle sent to a place of calm where you have control, abundance, legacy creation, and money mastery, so that you can continue or find a way to create your amazing life. I am your girl, Saran. I am your host, and I am excited to take you on this journey. And I look forward to having you back next week. We're here every Monday, live at 8:30 p.m. And I just can't wait to continue on the path with us. If you want to stay connected, you can join my community. It's called Sister Sense. It's a Facebook community. You can send a request and you can join today where we continue these lovely conversations. So with that, I'm your girl, Saran. Peace, love, and light. Let's get your money right.